Okay, it's about 3 minutes after. We'll go ahead and get started. We may have a few others join us as we get going. And I just want to say thanks for joining us this afternoon here on Ohio Tech Day. It was an exciting morning for those of you that were able to tune in and watch, and a very lively chat window and a lot of great things happening. I imagine they'll share a lot of that out afterwards. So we're excited to be one small part of the excitement here today. And so my name is Rich Granger. I'm with DriveOhio, and we're an initiative of the Ohio Department of Transportation. And I'm going to talk with you today about the Smart Mobility Ambassador Program. We'll spend a few minutes explaining what that is, what the program is all about. And then we've got some special guests here today. We've got two of our ambassadors from Dublin City Schools who were so kind to join us this afternoon. So we'll be sure to give them plenty of time to share their experience, talk about what they've been up to and what is on the horizon for the program. And we'll leave plenty of time at the end for discussion. I say plenty of time. We will wrap it up by 12:30 is our schedule today. So with that, let me get started on some information that I would like to share. And as we're going, feel free to put questions in the chat window, and we will do our best to answer those. So I mentioned DriveOhio. Who are we? What are we? And what's this Fly Ohio business I'm talking about? So DriveOhio is an initiative, along with Fly Ohio, of the Ohio Department of Transportation. We're the state center for smart mobility on the ground and in the air. And when we say that, what do we mean? We're talking about self-driving cars and trucks. We're talking about drones and what we call advanced air mobility. We're talking about vehicles that are connected with themselves and with the infrastructure. We're talking about electrification and all sorts of trends like that. So that's what we have in our portfolio, and workforce development is a big piece of what we're doing. So we're here today to talk about the next generation of the smart mobility workforce here across the state of Ohio. So as examples of that emerging workforce, here's a job that didn't exist a few years ago, and here's one of our all-stars up at Bowling Green State University. Jessica works for Starship, and Starship provides a delivery service. You can see there she's using some strength there to lift up one of those robots, and those robot operators like Jessica are overseeing that fleet. Starship recently completed their millionth delivery worldwide, and delivery number 1 million happened in Ohio, in Bowling Green. So we thought that was pretty exciting. So jobs that didn't exist just a few years ago are coming into focus now, and there's more every day. I mentioned Fly Ohio. It's an exciting initiative. We could always talk more about it in future settings, but what I'll say is there's a lot of exciting testing happening in and around Springfield and the Dayton region right now. What you see here is the Sky Vision system that's used for air traffic control at low altitude. And what is happening is that we're testing these things out before industry then adopts and uses this technology. Telegrid, shown here, was testing it with the Sky Vision system, and then not too long after that, they announced a partnership with Kroger for commercial drone delivery in Southwest Ohio. So we're telling companies, come here to test, stay here to grow. That's what's happening, and that's continuing to create new and exciting jobs. Here's Helen, a program analyst and a drone pilot that works for our team at the Ohio UAS Center out of Springfield, but they're statewide. They're doing inspections almost every day. And Helen was kind enough to share her perspective on smart mobility careers in a video that I'll reference. I'm not going to play the video here today, but we'll make that available, and you're welcome to check that out to hear a little more about it. Kenya is another one of our awesome team members. He's an intern here at DriveOhio, finishing up his degree in city and regional planning at Ohio State. And he has been the architect of much of what you're about to hear about on this Smart Mobility Ambassador Program. So while he'll remind me that he's a little removed from high school, I remind him I'm further removed from high school. So, and between having our ambassadors directly contributing to the curriculum and having awesome team members like Kenya helping to shape this, we're really student-led, student-focused with this program I'm about to describe. So I flashed past the video there. I'll get you a link to that, and I'll put it in the chat, and you're welcome to check that out. It's on the ODOT YouTube channel, hearing from Kenya and Helen on their perspective. So let's dig into the Smart Mobility Ambassador Program for a few minutes. We'll explain what it is, what it's all about. You can see the website down there. You can hop over there anytime to see a little bit more, and that's also where students register. And we'll include that website a few more times during this talk here today. Here's another introduction. Julianne was one of our high school interns this summer at DriveOhio, our very first Smart Mobility ambassador. She's at Northland High School in Columbus. We're still working to get the program started up at Northland, but she's ready to go when we're ready. And she, again, was contributing directly to the content that we developed over the summer and that we're now rolling out here in the fall. So a little more detail on the program itself. So this is a STEM career outreach program. We're seeking high school volunteers who will then host workshops with K-8 students across their district and maybe even across the community where they live. And this will also provide not just a chance for high school students to mentor the younger students, but we want to provide mentoring to those high school students. So we're working to connect our ambassadors with employers in the smart mobility space and with other events that we host. Just last week, a few of our ambassadors here were kind enough to join us at the ribbon cutting for the 33 Smart Mobility Corridor at the Transportation Research Center. So a great opportunity to engage with working professionals in this exciting field. So we're rolling this out in Central Ohio right now, but we have bigger plans for statewide expansion as early as, whenever anyone signals interest, we'll try to say yes is our goal right now. And we are looking at January as a chance to really keep scaling this up. So right now we're just, taking all interested educators and students and finding a way to roll this out in as many corners of the state as possible. And you can see some pictures here that show some of the activities that we'll describe here. And this gives you an idea that right now we're working with these small robots called Ozobots. Some schools have them already. It's not a requirement to use that. So if you have a different idea for a hands-on activity, we're very open to that. But we've done enough outreach with these, and it's a nice hook activity that we found that it's an accessible way to get started. And we realize budget can be an issue, so we can always talk about ways to address that if the equipment budget is a concern. So let's talk a little more about the features of the program. We start with information sessions like this one. Those are optional, but if students and educators want to learn a little bit more, we can share this type of information with even more depth if needed. And so we try to work with advisors inside each school district to just help us kind of navigate through the opportunities within that district, both with helping to identify high school students who are interested in volunteering, but also in identifying those K-8 students and where they're at, potential locations and times and things of that sort. So once we've kind of identified our cohort, then we roll out some training. Again, the information sessions are optional. We do have a hands-on training workshop that's sort of the entry requirement to get started on the program. It tends to run for about 2 hours. Right now, DriveOhio is the lead facilitator for those workshops. We're preparing to develop some train-the-trainer content, and then eventually we'll be pulling in some additional support teams to support that statewide scale up that I talked about. So for now, you're stuck with us, but we will be adding more partners over time to help with all the training and rollout of this. Once the training's done, we provide as much mentoring as the ambassadors feel that they need to get started with hosting these workshops with younger students. And then they're off they go. And then we continue to supplement with additional coaching, networking events that I mentioned earlier. So those are the basic features of the program. What we believe to be the benefits include volunteer hours towards the new graduation requirements, including the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal. We've got a list in a little bit here on what we think qualifies, but we're trying to be very inclusive on that aspect of the program. When we talk about increased awareness of this technology, career opportunities, to me, the best metric of any workforce program is connecting students with jobs. The internships could be capstone projects. We're looking for a lot of different ways for students who are interested in this to engage. And when we say smart mobility careers, we're not just talking about engineering. There's nothing wrong with engineering. That's what I happen to study. But if students are interested in this technology and they're a good communicator, I've met and sometimes have been guilty of being an engineer who is not the best communicator sometimes. So you need to have a whole team of people that can present this. So whether it's law, insurance, technology, there's a lot of dimensions of smart mobility career opportunities that present themselves. And we've talked about some of these other features. Professional skill development is another feature that we offer, coaching on things like, resumes and LinkedIn and things like that. Not in great depth. We know there are lots of great programs that do that, but we at least try to touch on those topics to provide sort of a holistic view of career opportunities and make sure they have access to those types of resources. I mentioned volunteer hours. These are just a few examples of what can be used to take credit for volunteer hours. And we'll make sure all these slides are available after the webinar for anybody who wants this information in more detail. And this is not meant to be read or briefed here, but this is just an example, a snapshot of some of the lesson plans we've been developing. Some of them are written a little more for educators, and then we're working to translate those further to be as helpful as possible for our ambassadors. And here is a great example. I don't think our ambassador who created this, Andrew, was able to join us today, but these 3D printed parts that you see that replicate a forklift were designed and printed by one of our ambassadors. How cool was that? Yeah, I mean, and those new map templates on the side there were also developed by that same ambassador. So, the goal of this program is to have a lot of crowdsourcing and open innovation and putting our students' great ideas fed right into this program. So here's just a live example that we didn't even ask them to do that. They just did it on their own. So how great is that? We've got a few schools that we're already off and rolling with or will be soon. And many of you are here today to talk about potential partnerships. So maybe we'll see a few more logos on this picture very soon. This is my last slide, and I want to give our students a good chance to contribute here. I mentioned we have these optional information sessions, sort of like today's discussion, that can be more student focused as needed. There's a 2-hour training session, and then as soon as students feel ready, they can start hosting these events with younger students. They tend to run 45 to 60 minutes, depending on the setting. Could be in classroom, could be after school. We recognize that transportation is a question that comes up. We're very sensitive to that for how the students can get around to attend these events. So if that's another topic we need to discuss, we're glad to brainstorm and maybe bring in some community partners as needed on that. So when students are ready to register, they can go to this website shown here, and there's a registration form right on the site, and they can sign up, and then we take it from there. Those are the main points I wanted to cover. I'd like to turn it over to our 2 guest ambassadors here to just, in your own words, share anything you'd like to share with the audience about your experience so far, what you've enjoyed about it, some things that you've experienced, and with that, and also if you could introduce yourself and your school and what year you are, I'd appreciate it. So please take it away.
Hi everyone, I'm Praneel Patel. I'm a sophomore at Dublin Jerome High School, and I've been a part of the ambassador program for about 2 to 3 months now. And I've gone to about 3 or 4 times. I've gone to elementary schools in Dublin City Schools and taught students about coding and smart mobility. So my experience so far has been, this entire process is still very new, and our teacher here at DCS that's helping Mr. Granger develop our program and figure out what we need to do and what we need to get better at. We've all been working very closely to see what we need to do better and what should we improve on, because this is still trial and error at this point, and we've identified some problems that need to be fixed, and we've solved some of them as well. So my experience so far has been exactly that. It's been trial and error, and just learning from our past mistakes and trying to get new students and more students interested in smart mobility. And like Mr. Granger said, not necessarily in engineering or programming. It would be in any subject, or even just general knowledge of such an important part of our important part of our lives that may come in the future.
All right, thanks for that. Yeah, so I think that is a good description. But by the way, I'm Shalene. I'm a freshman at Dublin Jerome. And yeah, I've been in the Smart Ambassador program for a similar period of time, probably 3 months, maybe a little bit more. And I I have to say that it's a really great experience to go out there and teach these young students about smart mobility and really them introduced to and you can definitely see that these students are interested. Definitely not all of them to pursue smart mobility in the future. And as Mr. Granger said, we are currently using Ozobots as a demo to teach students about smart mobility, and it's really great hands-on way for these students to learn. I've been to schools around Dublin a few times, and it's been a really great experience. And yeah, smart mobility is definitely the ambassador program is definitely growing, and I'm excited to see where it can expand.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for being here today, for sharing your experience, and for being so active already. I mean, we had our first training workshop either late August, maybe over the summer, and then you know, a lot of these students have just jumped right in here in the fall. In the case of Dublin, they were able to partner up with the after-school care program and provide just sort of a ready audience of young students to get events queued up for. So that's one way we've been working through this. And a lot of great lessons learned coming out of those first few workshops. So you know, I can't thank the students enough for their flexibility as we, you know, pilot this program and add more features to it. So it just keeps getting better thanks to their feedback. I will open it up for any questions and discussion. If anybody has anything, you're welcome to just, we've got a small group, you can unmute, put something in the chat if you'd prefer. But glad to answer any questions if there are any.
Rich, are there any long-term, the whole thing is a benefit to the participants, obviously. What do you see as the long-term benefits for these kiddos that are participating?
So what I would say to that, and I'd love to hear the student perspective on what they think it might be too. You know, I think awareness of what the opportunities are. One of the values, I think, of early career exposure is you can figure out what you like, but you can also figure out what you don't like. You know, I know if Kenya were here, he would share a story about how he switched majors partway through, and it's, you know, overall been a positive journey for him. But some of the information he gathered early in his collegiate career might have been helpful to learn before he got to OSU, just to help, you know, refine that plan a little faster. But he's on a great pathway. So there's that sort of your own personal journey, I think, is one of the benefits, and you know, hopefully some introductions that lead to faster, you know, placement in the opportunities that you do want to pursue. So for those things that you do like, hopefully you get there a little bit faster. To our ambassadors, anything you'd like to add on what you foresee as the benefits here?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
perspective. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, but from a student perspective, you definitely can get your interests at an early age, because I definitely feel that before smart mobility, there isn't much exposure of this new industry, and autonomous vehicles and Fly Ohio and the drone stuff that they're doing. There isn't really much exposure of that in our school system and for younger kids. So then when they see these cool things with our demonstrations and how we're teaching them about smart mobility, they're interested in these topics, and they might learn about them, or they might do some other events related to that, and they that could foster an interest in smart mobility and could down the line maybe put them into the workforce. Maybe not as well, but it will definitely help them think about smart mobility. And it's a great way to advertise the stuff that smart mobility is doing out to the younger population. All right. And then one more, another thing I would add is that we haven't done this yet, but Mr. Granger, obviously we've talked about like expanding the outreach program, and the more people that we inform about smart, more age groups, and just the farther we go with smart mobility, the more people possibly be interested in smart mobility. The ambassador program is a great way to facilitate this and teach potentially even other age groups about smart mobility.
That's great. Thanks for that. I hopefully everybody heard that. I know there was a little lag, but I heard it all. So that was great. That was great. Other questions or comments? And
it sounds like you have a couple of pretty good first-time ambassadors out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got, the numbers wise, in Dublin, we've trained, we've had 2 training workshops. There were an average of a dozen students at each training workshop. So that puts us at, probably over 2 dozen signed up. And we've had several ambassadors that have already signed up for as many as 4 of these student events. That is one detail. We're asking, once you've done the training workshop, to try to host at least 1 or 2 workshops during the semester or season, fall or winter, spring, if that's when the timing happens. And sometimes students will ask us, well, how long can we stay involved, or how many hours can we put in? I mean, it's sort of open-ended. If you want, if it works for you that it's best for a fall or a 1 school year, that's fine. If you want to stay with us longer, we can accommodate that too. So it's all very flexible.
And
flexibility is the key point. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Adding on to what Mr. Granger said, I think that a lot of the students that have joined the ambassador program, a lot of the incoming ambassadors are really enthusiastic about teaching new children about different topics and that are totally foreign to them, and getting them excited about coding and the Ozobots and smart mobility. So we have like a group of very enthusiastic ambassadors who are willing to do a lot of hours to just get better at public speaking and those other skills that Mr. Granger talked about, as well as those opportunities for career development, professional development, things like that, and who just want to keep on continuing the process of trying to get better, trying to have more outreach to more children, and ultimately just trying to get more children interested in smart mobility.
Thanks so much for that. No, those are great, all great points. And yeah, I mean, that gets me thinking about, students that may want to go into teaching. This is a great chance to try that out too. So there's just so many angles that we see here. I'll offer as we get close to wrapping up, and of course, if there's more questions, please throw them in the chat or jump in. Some previews of features coming soon. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Ohio STEM Learning Network Design Challenge. This year's theme is STEM Builds Ohio. That will have an infrastructure theme. So DriveOhio and FlyOhio will also be participating in that. So we see some potential overlap between the ambassador program and a few design challenge tracks we'll be offering. One is about FlyOhio and vertiports and drone infrastructure. The other will be about electrification and electric vehicle charging stations. So in addition to this Ozobot activity, that's sort of our initial hook, we have some other options. So if there are students and teachers that want to go a little further into this topic, then that's what we will be offering. And we're thinking about ways to get drones integrated as well. And so we're looking at different kits and activities and options there. I know our our students will have to be departing soon, so I'll say thank you so much for joining us. I know you got to get back to class, so this fit in nicely on your lunch break, so thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks for having us here. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye.
All right, take care. Any last comments? Otherwise, I think we can wrap up on schedule. And I'll make sure that the slides get shared out. Hopefully everybody has my contact information, and glad to brainstorm anytime if there's something you heard today that you're interested in. So thank you so much. And I think we're good for